Hey guys, Chris Senior back from CNH Mulch again for another informative service and review video. This one will be dealing with the machine currently in front of me here. This is a Troybilt squall 2100 or as they call it 21-inch cutting path on here for that. I'll give you a shot of the actual engine tag, the superficial tag they have on the top of the machine right here. Troybilt squall 2100, 21-inch clearing path, electric start. And it has a 208cc overhead valve 4-stroke engine. So what I'll do here first is give you actually a shot of the actual model number tag on the side, because it's nice and not in the open on here as well too. So here you go. It's a model number. So I can zoom in here for you a little bit better here, but it's getting a little bit light out here. 31AS2T54F711. The manufacturer is 2013, and this machine is relatively new out there. The customer only used it I think about a couple years, and they started having problems here this past a month over here trying to get the thing started up. This is the first time they actually used this year, and they needed a new carburetor on here specifically because the old one, I guess they left it sit for about I guess a year's time from the last time they actually used it. Then DeLay's son, DeLay's son told her that he changed the oil, changed the spark plug, and also drained out the gasoline, and then it still made no difference whatsoever. So we checked it out, and then unfortunately the carburetor was getting all brown and funny down inside there, and we simply had to put a new carburetor on the machine right here. These ones are actually a lot more we want to call user or worker friendly on them, because they have a simply you just got one big plate in the back here to actually get to the carburetor, and I'll show you that right here. These ones right here, they got one big black plate. This whole thing, this whole big black plate right back here, it's simply held on by you can see these two tits right down here in the bottom. You can see the actual oil drain plug right there. Well, you have these two tits. There's one right there, and there's the other one over there right there, and they simply slide down into the actual plastic portion and goes down to the metal frame. And you have three bolts to hold those in. You have three plastic bolt screws to go. There's one right there. You have one on the other side over here. You have one on the third side over here, and that basically pops out the whole entire thing, and then you can get to the carburetor relatively easily right there for that. And as you see right there, we have a new carburetor in here. It has the gold bowl on this one right here. The original one we took off, it had a silver bowl on there, so it looks like they might have changed the I don't know what to call it, color schematic, or the actual metal of the bowl right there for that. So that's one feature we did notice on this specific machine. So overall, they seem to be a lot more worker friendly to work on, so I definitely give that aspect a 2 thumbs up. However, it's still a Chinese engine, and because of that one specific problem right there, they do call breakdown more, and the overall reliability and the quality is simply not there as you compare it to like a Briggs & Stratton or a Tecumseh engine out there, or even one of the newer Honda style machines out there for that. So I'll go ahead and fire this thing up here, guys. You can actually see it started here. This one only takes usually about one pull to start over here. It actually takes a lot less than some of the other machines out there for that. So I'll go ahead and fire it up here for you. Let me put it on choke. Choke is all the way over to the right on this specific one. These ones have a different style choke lever on it. I should mention that right off the bat, because whenever you buy a brand new carburetor, you must save the old choke extension on it. This has a couple teeth on it. It actually grips the new choke lever right here, so you have to use the old one. You cannot just forget about it, and you do not want to break it off either. So just be mindful of that. Do not break the choke extension for your lever right here. Okay, choke's on. Hit the primer button by one time. They say 3 to 5 times, but I personally do not recommend that, because you can tend to flood the machine if you're not careful out there for that. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up here. So this one overall, I'd recommend if you're thinking about getting a smaller non-self-propelled one that's a newer generation after it has the Chinese engines, this would probably be a suitable option to get right here. These things typically retail for about, I think about $400 brand new, plus tax if you buy them at your local store out there for that. So overall, it seemed to be running okay for me over here. We didn't have any major problems with it. We actually checked the belt out over here as well too. In order to get to the belt, you have to take your plate off over here. You have your drive control, or I should say your drive belt protector right here. You gotta take your plastic plate off. You gotta lift up the actual red covering on it while you have the other plate taken off. So you have to take the black. You gotta take the black bottom off first, and you lift this thing up off there as well too, and you can get to your belt area right there as well too. So always check your belt at least, I'd say at least once a season out there, because whenever you're doing a lot of heavy snow blowing out there, that belt's gonna be wearing out there. So always check it at least once a season. If it's getting cracked or frayed, definitely replace it with an OEM belt, because unfortunately we've seen people who would bring us their machine and they had like an aftermarket Stens belt or some Pix or one of those other knockoff brands out there that simply would not either fit. It was either too loose or too tight on there. So I recommend only using OEM parts whenever you're doing the specific belts on these machines, because if you don't, you'll tend to run into problems. And I learned that fact whenever my grandfather had an old Sears Craftsman riding lawnmower, one of the old ones from the early 90s out there, and he usually went out and tried to buy the cheapest parts he could find, and he bought a cheap belt down at the local hardware store, and it was not the OEM belt, and he just wanted to do to save some money. And what happened was, about a month later, the belt kicked off and it was all burned up underneath there, and he had to go out and buy a brand new OEM Sears belt on her for that. So that's why I recommend solely OEM parts when you're repairing most machines out there for that. The only time I recommend aftermarket parts is if the overall cost of doing the job is higher than what it's actually worth to do the job. The reason I say it is because, like, say you have a older Toro snowblower that has a McCuney carburetor, or it has like a Japanese sourced engine on her. Some of those parts for those carburetors can be quite expensive out there for that, and sometimes you have to weigh the cost of the overall carburetor versus the cost of a newer, like a Chinese equivalent carburetor, because we actually did that for one guy's job here about a couple years ago. We gave the customer the option of either spending $110 for the actual McCuney carburetor versus spending about $50 for the Chinese knockoff carburetor, and the customer wanted the Chinese one, so we stuck it on there, and he hasn't had any problems since that. So that's why I recommend OEM parts the majority of the time if you can do that for a job. I'll also give you a shot here of the actual auger unit underneath here as well too. They have a we want to call a slightly redesigned auger system underneath here. You have a bigger, we want to call mouth or lip right here, instead of simply having a big flat area going straight across. This one has a bigger area, so it's I believe they redesigned it so it can actually take more snow up into that one area, so it has like a smaller area to try to throw the snow farther and in a more direct manner, because some of the older ones, they didn't actually have this it's almost like a little mouth underneath here. So by having this right here, you're actually able to direct the snow better, and also have it you know, act more efficiently right there, rather than having one big hole across the whole top on here as well too, guys. So the auger paddles look okay underneath here. They're not worn down in any specific matter, so the auger paddles look okay relatively on this one right here. So everything else looks okay on this machine, so I'm satisfied with how it's running over here right now. So if anybody has any comments, questions, whatnot, as usual, just feel free to leave me a message here, and I'll try to get back to you as quick as possible. So I'll see you guys, and have a nice day.